where
and then the environment was cleaned up.
The first time I was hearing about this stuff, it was totally new to me.
With social impact consulting. Transform Nigeria is a community of change agents that want to do something to drastically transform our nation to a nation of greatness, to a nation that would take its rightful place in the world's space. There are so many young people and from different walks of life that are doing great things in Nigeria, from technology, from finance, to banking, to the government sector, and even civil society organizations are doing drastical things to make Nigeria better, to engage Nigerians, whether it's in entertainment, whether it's in politics, whether it's in the development sector, or whether it's in government. There are issues in the country, yes, we all understand that. But if you're anti-corruption, be pro-integrity. If you're anti-war, be pro-peace. So in Transform Nigeria, we're anti-marginalization, we're anti-poverty, and we're anti-discrimination, we're pro-peace, we're pro-justice, we're pro-prosperity. So that is why we have the positive attitude that change agents need to do something great in their communities to then transform our country from good to great. Thank you.
Civil society represents the third sector, if you may, and it's inclusive of the media, NGOs, thought leaders, and people who just have a say in how a country, a people, or a place is run.
At the core of the work that we do is a strong belief that to really address educational inequity and inequality requires us really building a critical mass of dynamic, passionate, committed leaders who will dedicate themselves to addressing the different issues within the educational sector and the educational space.
Young people need to get into the government and then be able to push for issues that affect them, because you can't keep staying out and then thinking that things will work in for your own good. So you need to be able to prepare yourself.
Society represents a community of engaged individuals who work with us to build consensus around progressive policy options and to give citizens a voice in governance.
So on my 40th, I realized that I had become that adult that I used to blame, and that there are children, also teenagers in my position, who are also currently at that time in the position that I used to be. And that was about 8 years ago. I turned 40 on the 12th of December 2013. And so on that day, I said to myself, I will start speaking on Nigerian issue. I will no longer be a passive citizen. I'm going to be an active citizen. And also, I could make that decision because I had gotten to a place where I was financially independent. You know, in Nigeria, if you're poor, you're faceless, nameless, and voiceless. You're seen as a nobody. I grew up poor, where you were not even seen as a human being. People didn't want to relate with you. People didn't want their children to relate with you because you came from the wrong side of the town, and they felt that, oh, you probably are going to corrupt their children. That's the way I've been able to rationalize it as an adult. But as a young child, I didn't understand what that was all about. So I was very focused on that financial independence. And so I got that before my 40th birthday, and I made that decision. And I said to myself, if God gives me another 40 years, I'm going to devote it to Nigeria. And 4 months later, Chibok girls were abducted.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to this very special video podcast special
with Aisha Yesufu. She is a social political advocate and the founder of Citizens Hub. So just so excited to have her. I'm just extremely thrilled. So if you see this platform, please make sure you like and share. You like and share, like and share, like and share. So this is a joint collaboration of both my platforms. By the way, my name is Efwa Ede. I'm the CEO of Social Impact Consulting. We're a development consultancy firm that works to maximize social impact. And another platform is actually the moderator, the admin of an online community called Transform Nigeria. It is a community to promote Nigeria and Nigerians working in their capacity to make Nigeria a better nation for us and generations to come. So I started this video podcast starting with a series called the Development Sector Series, speaking with development experts and change makers that are doing their parts to change the world. So again, like and share these videos if you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So let me know where you're watching from. I can show you some love during the broadcast. This is a very public influencer that we're talking to. So a lot of comments might be coming in. If I don't catch it, I'll catch it after the broadcast, okay? Platforms like LinkedIn don't let you chat from the streaming platform, but I will do the best I can and include your questions and answers. Now, so back to our current guest. Our current guest is Aisha Yesufu. Like I said to you before, she is the founder of Citizens Hub, and she's an active Nigerian citizen who demands for good governance, accountability, and transparency. She is unapologetic about her stance in fighting for justice and equity. She's a businesswoman who teaches financial literacy to empower people to be financially independent, to have a voice in demanding good governance through her organization called the Citizens Hub. Okay, she's a member of Bring Back Our Girls. Anytime you see her, you see that that pin on her vest. Bring Back Our Girls. Advocating consistently. She has been consistent. On the rescue of the Chibok girls. Okay, Aisha Yesufu was also dubbed the Statue of Liberty on her role in the EndSARS protest in Nigeria, which aimed to putting an end to police brutality. Okay. She is also named BBC 100 Women, a 2020 list of 100 inspiring and influential women from around the world in 2020. She's also a Stanford Draper Hill Summer Fellow and a contributor to the book of essays, Remaking Nigeria, 60 Years, 60 Voices, okay? So what I want you all to do for me today is allow me to introduce to some. Oh, there's no audio. You guys can you hear me? Please put if you can hear me. If you can hear me, just put that you can hear me, because somebody is telling me that there's no audio. So if you can hear me, just echo that you can hear me, okay? So allow me to introduce to some and present to others. Aisha Yesufu, please give her some love in the comments. I'm so excited. Let me bring you on. Hello. So good to see you.
Thank you.
I have been trying to get you. I've been trying to get you on forever. So I'm just so glad we're able to do this. I'm so glad.
Same here.
And you've agreed to do it at your busiest time. So I do not take this for granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been busy, but now, sister, you busy. Thank you. Well, now, sister, you busy.
Honestly, it's unbelievable.
Like it says in the banner, we're going to be talking about the third force. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I produced a documentary on the 2022 Civic Space Outlook, and one of the things that we're to look out for was the third force. So I want us to talk about that. Okay. So now, first question: When did you think the third force started that made you decide to pay attention?
For me, it's not necessarily paying attention. It's the fact that we've been working on the third force for years. I remember even before the 2019 election. But though the people did not pick it up, but I think the seats were sold when we're doing the red card movement, red card to APC and PDP, and saying to citizens that indeed they can on their own decide who is it that becomes the next president. And if you remember, the term third force was being used was started during the 2019 election, not this particular election. And where people later would say, oh, first of all, they were saying there was no option, there are no options, what are the options? And then other people joined the race, like someone like Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, and then it now became, oh, let the third force come together and unite. So there was that third force, which we had started working around 2017 thereabout to say to people they can. But after the election, of course, not many people, got on it. They still felt that they were beholden to two parties. But the other distance started after EndSARS. So what we see right now is, as a result, the unintended outcome on the part of, let's say, government now with what they did, and then the anger that people felt at what had been done during EndSARS. It's what has brought us to where we are right now. So if I say towards the latest issue on the third force, I would say I started paying attention after EndSARS. And I saw how angry people were, especially the Nigerian youth, how they got to realize the relationship between governors and their lives, and how powerful government is, and how brutal government can actually be. So because most of them are not, they didn't live through the military era. So they took the democracy for granted. And now with the EndSARS protest, it was just shown to them that, look, government can be so brutal. And then they decided to focus on politics. And that's the third force we're seeing right now.
Okay, so you've talked about it from what happened in the recent years. So I'm gonna have you just go back a bit, because one thing I played was a snippet of your interview for Untold Impact on how you became empowered. But let's talk about even before, while you were just doing your thing, being a productive citizen, paying your taxes, running your businesses, and what you saw even before then. Because we're going to now talk about some of the movements that revealed the third force post 1999. You get what I'm saying? Because I know, like, before Chibok and before things, what was happening back then. So can you just enlighten us? I'm going to go off screen, but I'm going to come back on shortly, so you can answer the question.
Okay. So if I take myself back a little bit, and one of the things we forgot to also mention, the fact that as an employer of labor, because I'm an employer of labor, I've been an employer of labor since 2003 or thereabout. I was very much focused on my business, like you heard from that interview that I did. I grew up poor, where I would go to school in the morning without breakfast. Coming back home, I was not expecting lunch, and I knew how devastating it is in Nigeria. If you don't have money, if you're poor, you're not seen as a human being. You're faceless, nameless, and voiceless. And so, for me, my focus was mainly on my business. And then, when I became 40, I realized that I was also the problem of Nigeria. In 2012. So like a passive Nigeria, the average passive Nigeria, I didn't care about government. I tuned off. I literally, a lot of things that happen in Nigeria, I wasn't even aware of them. It's now that I'm learning about them. The president could literally have stood beside me and I wouldn't even know that was the president, because I was so tuned off. My focus was on the people around me, family, and then people, how to empower the people around me. But it was around 2011 that I came to the realization of the importance of governance in lives, in people's lives, and how government policies can actually destroy, make or mar businesses, and how they affect people's lives. Just like the young people coming to see for them, EndSARS being that for them. And so we're like, okay, wow, government is this powerful, and so we shouldn't just look the other way. If there was the Occupy Nigeria was one moment where Nigerians were united, Nigerian youths were united, and they worked together, they were making demands. I was not part of that protest. Probably that would have been the first time that I would have come out as, on national issue. Though my first protest was in 1992, in my first year in the university, in short, my first semester in the university. And so on, I would have come out. But the reason why I didn't join the Occupy Nigeria protest was because of the fact that I wanted subsidy to be removed. So for years, I kept saying, with subsidy, it didn't make sense. As of that time, I was doing a haulage business. I had trailers that were running Lagos to the north. And this wasn't subsidized. And I'm like, why are you subsidizing luxury? Why are you not subsidizing what is used in the for commercial purposes? Because any big truck, you use diesel in industries and all of that. It is not subsidized, but it's what you're using in cars and what have you that you're subsidizing, and see what is all going on. So when that happened, but even though I was not part of the protest, even though I had not joined, I rooted for Nigerian youth just coming together, and I kept, going for them, rooting for them until, at the last moment. I remember the day where they were saying, okay, they will call it for a time, they will go and come out. Like, no, don't do that. You guys might never, sort of like come back. So I think that in a way has sowed the seeds of Nigerian youth coming together and working together, even though it wasn't continued. There were organizations like Enough is Enough that came out of all that process, and other organizations that have been doing amazing job in Nigeria. But the youth sort of like went back home, and then the youth are no longer the youth now. And we now had a gap where we are seeing what is happening right now. But I will just end here to say that what we are seeing right now, there have been a lot of foundation built over the time, and people are learning. And if you see what happened during EndSARS protests, where they were like, we don't have any leader, it's a leaderless movement and all of that. They didn't do the traditional kind of leadership because they have seen what normally it costs. Because by the time people now are come, maybe few people will sort of be compromised, and that will be the end of the movement, like what they saw with the Occupy Nigeria and all of that. So yes, citizens have been learning from the previous events that have been coming on up until this moment that we have right now.
I see. That is quite comprehensive. Now, I don't know if I mentioned when I first saw you, it was back in 2018. It was during, yes, it was, I was hired by Chemonics at the time to evaluate one of their programs. So as a consultant, so they invited me to their end of program summit, and so it was after the summit, they had a few people to talk about current movements and what have you, and you were invited. So I was sitting, and then you were speaking. I was just in awe, of the passion and just and your voice being so strong and fearless and powerful, and just saying all the things you and Mrs. Dr. Obieze Kwesili were able to do. I've actually listened to both of you speak on different fora. So I was just in awe. And then when I now met you again recently, I think right before COVID, right before COVID, I was just like, wow, she is just, it was like, it's like your personality is like both your personality, your soft and your strong personality. Yeah. I was just like, I need her to come speak. I need her to come talk to me, talk to my platform. I try to invite people who I admire a lot, and I will eventually start inviting people that I don't agree with, which is part of conversations.
Yes, conclusion.
So I just wanted to mention that to you. It was just, but I'm just going to use this time to say, guys, those of you in the audience, people are saying use Zoom mode, that it's to see that you're live. We're actually live, guys. We're live. You get what I'm saying? So if you have any questions for Aisha, see, she's waving at y'all.
Please go ahead.
So if you have questions for her, this Q&A that we're having is brief. After that, it's going to be down to you guys. You guys should ask whatever questions that you may have about the third force, okay? So we are going to now go to our next question. So, we've talked about EndSARS and the response to EndSARS. you know, and everybody can tell you what they were doing on October 20th. Everybody. I mean, I feel like October 20th for me in Nigeria was like September 11th, 2001 in the US, because I was in uni during in September 11th, and after my first period, I went down and saw what happened. So I know what I was doing October 20th. So everybody knows that day. It's never going to leave our hearts. And so, you know, do you think the current political establishment is addressing the third force? Are they paying more attention? You know, because one thing I like about your YouTube channel, in terms of, I know you support a certain candidate. However, you talk about your take on others as well. So do you think the current political establishment is addressing the third force?
Okay, so before I answer that question, I'll just quickly say, you know, so for me, people just find me a little bit, I don't know how to put it. I am made of two parts, and I'm very comfortable in the two parts. So I'm soft and hard at the same time. I'm somebody who likes my space. I can be an introvert. I am an introvert and an extrovert at the same time. I love people. I will go down. Then at their moments, I don't even want to see anybody. I just stay on my own and do my own thing. So it's always that contrast. So people are always thinking, oh, when they see me, they're like, oh, we thought you'd be so hard. And then the other someone, you're so soft. You're so this. I'm like, yeah, I'm comfortable with you know, being those two extremes together in one place. And it's, I don't know, that's just the kind of person that I am, even though sometimes it sort of like confuses a lot of people a lot. But that's by the way. On the issue of the EndSARS protests and what happened October 2020, I think the political class underestimated the effect of what happened. It was just a simple cry. You know, these are Nigerians who ordinarily don't bother about election. They don't bother about the governance. They have been able to use technology and social media to find niches for themselves to thrive. So they really were not dependent on government per se, because if you look at that EndSARS protest, it was done more by entrepreneurs, middle class, young people who are earning money, some of them big money that some of us older generation only imagine in Naira. They imagine it in dollars and stuff like that. And so it wasn't just the normal kind of, some oppressed group, uneducated group of citizens that were on the streets. There were a good number of, you know, well-educated Ivy League universities, foreign universities, private universities, and all of that. So you had that. And they refused to pay attention to that whole thing. And after the killings, the anger that was coming from me, they refused to pay attention to it. I remember, I think it was July 2021 that I did a long thread to PDP, the opposition, saying to them, look, the young people are yearning for a political voice. Give it to them. Reform and revamp. I remember even that 2021, there was a place where I was saying, oh, some of your older, front runners, Atiku, Saraki, retire them to the back, put Frank Weke Jr., Peter Obi at the front, you know, change it, make your party gender inclusive, reform your board, put 50%, 60% adults, 40% youth. Anybody above 35 is no longer youth. And amongst each 60%, put 50% male. Everyone should have 50% male, 50% female. Just revamp and take on this youth who are yearning for a political voice. But of course, nobody paid attention to them. And you can see what the youth have done today is that they have formed their own political caucus. So it's like there's now I'm looking for a word for it now. So there's now like oh gosh, the word has just gone up. Where you have a lump vote, a voting block. Yes,
a voting block. Yes.
A voting block. So they are not necessarily part of a particular party, but they are pro-candidate. So the candidate happens to be maybe for a particular party. For example, like Peter Obi, when he was in PDP, they were already rooting for Peter Obi and even saying to the party, give this man the ticket, don't let this man go. If he goes to another party, we're going to go with him to another party. And if you see the way they called, for example, they call themselves obedient. or are not not party something. So they're forming that block. And as we go on, one of the things I think I see, and I hopefully wish for me, it's my main priority to ensure it's sustained, is to have this voting block be the determinant of who becomes the president, who are the people that become governors, and who are the people that get into elected positions. So it's not just about one person, one party. It's about ensuring who are the people that are going to give Nigeria good governance, accountability, and transparency. And I see that's what we would really now have. Nigeria will really get the best of its citizens. So no, the political class, they haven't paid attention. They took them for granted. It is now that is beginning to dawn on them that indeed they might have miscalculated. They didn't read the handwriting on the wall. They didn't read the room. And they thought that, as usual, in that way of arrogance, they always felt that, oh, you know, this youth, Nigerian citizens, they are unable to stay on issue. They always get carried away. So there are certain shows that will make them go away. There are certain football seasons, they will lose focus. But unfortunately for them, unfortunately for Nigeria, people are focused on the issue. The Nigerian youth are focused on the issue of the politics, and the third force indeed is showing its might.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so you're saying that it was mentioned before, now it just seemed like, oh, it crept up on them, but it didn't. There were one event after the other leading to this, but nobody paid attention. So now it's like, wow.
But the thing, the thing is that they didn't pay attention because they've never been punished for their bad behavior. So there was no incentive for them to pay attention. So they felt they always do what they want to do, how they want to do it, when they want to do it, and they got away with it. And so right now, and that's why this 2023 election is so important, because the Nigerian citizens need to get the power back. Ordinarily, this power belongs to the citizen. But unfortunately, what we have in Nigeria, because many people have weaponized poverty, weaponized illiteracy, and all of that, they are the ones who are holding the power. They've taken the power away from citizens. So with this now, we're trying to get the power back to the citizens, so that when parties realize that, look, citizens now have a voice, they have a voting bloc. For them, the third force is not about a candidate, it's about the people who are saying, we are not the ones who are going to get incentive to be doing the right thing. And for them, that's when they'll begin to give candidates who have competence, character, and capacity. And for me, for the last few years, I've been saying, look, all these parties are the same. They have competent candidates, but the problem we have is that they do not give their tickets, party tickets, to the competent candidates. They give it to people that they can control. So until and unless Nigeria begin to punish that bad behavior of not giving your ticket to the most competent person, but giving it to the person that can pay the most, they are not going to change. So with this now, by the time we are able to get 2023 election, the people's voice is the one that matters. People vote and get back that power. They will now have the incentive to begin to listen to the people and read the handwriting on the wall, and also read the room.
That is really very powerful, because I've even people that I know, even that are in politics, that are very smart. It's like they align with political parties, and the godfathers don't put them where they deserve, because maybe they are too enlightened. They know too much, or they would lose control. And these are some of the issues. And I think if we're even able to deal with the constitutional amendments where they allow independent candidacy, it will shock a lot of people. So let me get to our next question. So we're aware that it looks like you are frozen. We can hear your voice loud and clear, but
oh my goodness, I'm waving my hand. Am I frozen?
It's like, I don't know. It's like you're frozen, but we can hear you. It's just that you're frozen.
Oh.
Yeah, let me see what's going on.
What's going on?
Yeah, but we can hear you. It's just
I'm actually waving my hand. You go up and come back.
Okay, there you are. I see you now. I see you now. Okay, I
This
see you
my
now.
fine
Yeah.
face, my glowing
Yes.
face. And you know, I've
That's
been
why I
glowing
said I
because
had to stop. Oh, I had to stop so we can see your
of
fine
the
face.
citizen.
So let me.
You can see
So,
you can see there's a contrast between this and the documentary you did.
yeah.
A lot of people have been saying to me, "Oh, that I look so happy, I look so beautiful, and everything." I'm like, yes, there's joy in my heart. The joy that Nigerian citizens finally have woken up and they are understanding their right. I mean,
Yes.
what
Yes.
is that?
There's a lot of joy. So now we're all aware, nationally and internationally, that you support Peter Obi in this 2023 election. How has the third force played a role in your support for Peter Obi?
My support for Peter Obi has nothing to do with the third force. It has everything to do with who he is. So if you remember, like earlier on, I mentioned that in 2021, I think that was around July or thereabout, I had done a particular tweet where I did. It was a thread I did to the PDP to say, you people need to re-strategize. You need to. I've done something like that in 2015 also, immediately after they lost the election. And I said Peter Obi is one of those people that you put at the front. And then by the time the election, the primaries started, I was watching and I waited till all the primaries were done. And I checked every person that had won this thing. And I was like, okay, this is the person for me who is the most credible, most competent for this within this electoral circle. So for me personally, it had nothing to do with the third force, because even if the third force, like the citizens, had aligned with another person other than Peter Obi, I would still have been with Peter Obi, even if I'm the only one. So that's for me, that's the kind of person I am. So it's just that, and that's why when a lot of them are like, oh, you know, you did this, I'm like, you are the one that finally came to my side, because I don't believe in the two parties have to be the ones to be in this. So for me personally, it's been, my support has been there for Peter Obi. It has nothing to do with the fact that, oh, there's a third force behind him. For me, it has to do with his competence. But one of the things that I would say, which the question didn't ask directly, but I think I need to mention it, is the fact that, like somebody said, he said, Nigerians became obedient even before Peter Obi became obedient.
Can you say more about that?
Okay, so what you saw was that as we went into the election, even before now, you see some as in years, but people kept saying, look, Peter Obi needs to be at the front. Some years ago, I think it was after the 2019 election or before, I also did a trade where I said, if Peter Obi was the presidential candidate in 2019 and not Atiku, and this is my own personal analysis, that PDP would have had more chance than they did with Atiku. Because there were a lot of people who that stayed away from the election who would have gone into say, okay, they were going to vote. And then there are many people who still voted that ticket because of Peter Obi as vice president. For me personally, I wasn't going to do that, because in 2015, I voted the Buhari ticket because of Osibanjo. But that's how Buhari did not surprise me in any way. He did not fail me. It was Osibanjo that failed me, because he was the one that we saw, that we said, okay, we know Buhari doesn't have capacity at all, but one of the things he does is that he delegates. And so he will delegate to Osibanjo. Osibanjo would do it. And even in 2014, December 2014, Osibanjo was the first one that started the campaign. I remember in 2015 January, I was doing a trade. I said, where is Buhari? Meanwhile, Osibanjo was all over the place. So there were people who voted for that PDP ticket in 2019 because of Peter Obi. So what I mean here is that people were, even when Peter Obi, before he started, even said he was going to run, people were already yearning for him, calling him and telling him to run. By the time he was running, and people were seeing that money thing, and you know him, he's not one person that is going to pay for him to be nominated and bribe delegates. They say, okay, you should just leave and come to another party. We will follow you. So these are people who were already obedient. Even that time that he himself had not even started thinking about running and all of that. So Nigerians have been behind him. So for me, I would say, like, if I would change the question, I would say the Peter Obi himself, his momentum, his movement has really, even him, getting that courage and just going on, has been helped by the third force. And seeing him, and you see him the way he has been going, he keeps growing every day. And that's why the beauty of the Electoral Act that we have that has given this long time for candidates to actually campaign. You see Peter Obi every day becoming better, growing on, and with the massive support he's getting. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing to watch.
Okay. So I think you've been talking about this third force and what have you, and how the third force even happened before Obi even came into be. He just happened to be at the right place at the right time with the competencies and everything that based on your perspective. So what do you think? Now, this is kind of like an effect. What do you think would happen if the third force continues to be ignored by the current establishment? Like, say, for example, during the elections, we've been hearing rumors about what's going on with INEC, what's going on in just trying to infiltrate the democracy so that the election does not happen, or it's not a free, fair, and credible election. So what do you think may happen if the third force continues to be ignored? What do you foresee happening? Because the way you are operating is with urgency. So what do you foresee?
Yeah. So what I see happening if the political class continue to ignore the third force is that we will have an upset in the Nigerian election. I will have a Macron happening. We will have someone from nowhere that people thought wouldn't have a chance actually get to win the election. One of the things also that we all have to understand is that as we have the third force happening, we also have poverty and insecurity happening. So these are powerful forces. People are going through so much. Hunger speaks louder than words. So a person who has been hungry for so long, I mean, hears the pain of that hunger more than any promises that you make to that person. Yeah, a lot of people will say that, some people more vote buying and all of that thing will happen. But more and more people are getting to realize that what the kidnappers are demanding for is way more than what the politicians are paying. And so a lot of people have hunger. They've gone through so much hardship that is more telling on them. We've had unprecedented hardship. Never had it been as bad as it is right now. And also one of the things we are telling people that if you don't vote the right person, we will get to a place whereby we will not be wishing for this time. And I see a lot of people are beginning to make that connection. Because once upon a time in 2014, we thought that was the worst Nigeria had seen. We thought we can't go worse than that, but we actually did. And I've seen quite a number of people who keep saying, oh, God, let it not be that we will not be missing Buhari. Let nobody come that will make us miss Buhari. Because now they are realizing that indeed things can be so bad that we probably will be buying dollar for 2,000 naira and a bag of rice for 100,000 naira. And then we'll be saying, oh, Buhari's era was good because rice was cheaper then. But it's bad. So these are some of the things that are really sending that message. So there's a third force, there's hunger and insecurity on the floor. And I will say to you, this election is unpredictable. And for me, I think the person who wants it the most, who works hard the most for it, will be the ones that will win it. And I see a lot of the third force movement people who are mostly made up of obedient movement, actually wanting this and working towards it. It's before what you have right now. No party is sure of itself. They can say all the things they want to say, but you can see it's not. Everywhere it's sort of like divided. Let me just quickly take you through the different regions. For example, you look at the Southeast region, and these are my own analysis. Southeast region, yes, Peter Obi has it on lockdown. South region, he also has it on lockdown. You come to the southwest region, you have Tinubu there. Tinubu is strong in the southwest region. But then also there's also this thing about Lagos isn't as it's cosmopolitan. And then there are people who have been angry at the fact that, the Tinubu dynasty has been so how do I put it now, so powerful. And they're having enough of that. So you have that in the southwest. If you come to the northeast is going to be basically between Atiku, which is from his own side, and also the vice presidential candidate Kashim, because Kashim Shettima, because for some of them, they look at Tinubu as maybe it might be a Yaradua case. So they are more or less voting for like a Kashim. So they are going to fight for the Northeast for itself. The North Central are angered by the Muslim ticket. Remember, most of them are Christians. There are a good number of Muslims. The Nasarawas, when it comes to Jos, Taraba, and Co, they are angry because of this Muslim ticket that was given, and wish for them, because it is a slap on their face where they are being told that as Northern Christians, they are not important enough, even though it's not about competence. It's the fact that they are not seen as citizens of this country. So that also has given Peter Obi something there. If you come to the Northwest, the Northwest, you have Kwankwaso. That's Kwankwaso's domain. And as much as possible, he will want to save political face. So he's doing everything to get those votes. Tinubu is there, Atiku is there, they're going to be fighting it. And then what is left for Peter Obi is to just go in there, get your the 25% that is required and take it up. So they're going to balkanize the Northwest, especially Kanu, except of course if Kwankwaso steps down for anyone, which might not happen because he needs to save that political face. At the end of the day, he might lose all value. So the thing is all over the place. And so it's not, if the political class continue to underrate the third force, which I hope they will, especially the two major parties, then it makes it easier for that Macron to happen, for us to have an upset in Nigeria. And it will be the best thing, because that will finally mean that people will get the power back.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to open the floor for the audience. I'm going to open the floor for the audience for like 10 minutes, okay? So because our guest has to leave for another meeting. So we're just gonna, but she has given us a lot already, even with the time that she's given us a lot. So, you know, if you have any questions, there's something somebody said, I think it's, let me just do this just a second. Let's see, somebody had put here, how do we rely on the third force when their demographic don't register and don't vote? That's a Jaro call from YouTube.
Okay, so the thing is that the third force is not just mainly made up of youth. It's made up of a whole lot of Nigerians, especially those that have their PVCs and they've not been using the PVCs. If you realize there was registration that happened unprecedented in the number of people that actually went to register, although there were some who ended up not completing their registration, and the number is mainly the youth that have the numbers. Even in the already registered this thing, you have a high percentage of youth and women. What has happened is that a lot of people, even with their PVCs, they use it for ID purposes, for identification purposes. They don't use it to vote because they've not had any candidate that they believed in enough for them to go out and vote. And for me, to digress a little bit, I totally relate to that, because the first time I voted, I think I was 19 years old. That was in 1993. And then when they canceled the election, I was so angry because I was so happy voting. I was like, finally, I'm an adult. I can participate in who got to govern Nigeria. So when they canceled that election, I was so devastated. And I said to myself, I will never vote again. So 1999, 2003, 2007, I didn't vote until 2011. And the reason why I went to get my voter's card was because Ribadu was running. And so for me, Ribadu was the most competent candidate. And I didn't care that everybody had their own popular candidate, which was Buhari and Jonathan. I didn't vote for either of them because for me, it's always about the person. So like the question you asked earlier, when I answered, I say it's not about the third for supporting Peter Obi that is making me support it. It's about his own person and his own competence. So many people, with the fact that they now saw that they have candidates they can relate to, they can vote for, they did register. So there are a lot of young people who are registered. And also, even in the demographic, a lot of, if I'm not mistaken, I think they have higher number of PVCs. It's just that they don't use it. They don't go out on that day to go and vote. But right now, they have somebody that they can relate with, somebody that they want to vote for. So there's going to be a huge difference. And so you see a lot of people, again, also listening to their youth, because the youth are the children of some people. And so you know, parents, they have a sense of like sentiments towards their children. So if your child is coming to say to you, oh, vote a certain person, and another party is coming to tell you, vote a certain person, you're more likely to listen to your child than you are to a total stranger that you don't know who is telling you to vote for another person. So that third vote is quite huge. And also another thing is that we have a lot of there's a whole lot of silent majority that are actually part of the third force. They are not saying anything. They won't say anything, but they're going to make their voices heard through their PVC and their thumbprint. Thank you.
Okay. So I have a few more questions. Let's see. So this one is a partisan question. It says, what will the role of women look like when Labour Party emerges winner?
The role of women should be, the role of women should be 50-50. For me, I unapologetically, I've said it, for me, it's top on my mind is gender, women. After the whole debacle that happened where at the National Assembly, they threw away all the 5 bills that had to do with women. Even something as simple as your husband, if you marry a non-Nigeria, for you to be able to confer citizenship on that your husband was denied from women. Not even what would that have taken away from anybody? That showed how disrespectful they are of women in Nigeria. And I made up my mind. I said, for me, it's about gender. And that's what, even up to today, that's what I'm pushing in every conversation that I come to. I'm not a Labour Party member, but I'm a supporter of Peter Obi, and to an extent they do listen to what I say, and so I make sure it's gender. If you remember when the Labour Party did the retreat, I said to Mr. Peter Obi, then I said to him, look, the optics around you must change. This one that we're only seeing adult men, we are not seeing youth, we are not seeing women, they have to change. And one of the things I like about Peter Obi is the fact that when he was in office, he had over 40% women in his cabinet, and most of the key roles were held by women. So he's someone who doesn't just talk about gender inclusion, but he has practiced it before, and is one who is very much interested in practicing it, even when it comes to youth and women. Because most time you're talking to him about something like, I want the youth around me, I want you. So it's someone that we know that he's already passionate about it, and it will be very difficult to get him on it. But my main job is to hold him accountable when he gets to office and ensure that he gives to Nigeria the things that Nigeria needs to be a great nation.
Okay, so I'm going to go to another question. This is from Freestar. Let me thank the other person who asked the previous question. How sure are we that this time our votes will count? How do you trust INEC? I think that is the wild card in this deck.
So absolutely, I trust INEC, and I'll give you my reasons. In the last election that we've seen, INEC have done as much to improve on the things that they're doing, and they've always taken recommendations from people. They've done their bit. Vote buying, you see recently the fact that they brought in EFCC and also police. They're actually prosecuting some people that bought votes during the Osun election. We've seen them doing that a lot. Then the Electoral Act has also empowered INEC. One of the things that we have, before I talk more about INEC, let me go to the president. President Muhammadu Buhari does not have a legacy. For one that we have, other than the Electoral Act that he signed, amazing document. And so that is one of the things that he wants to build on. When he went to the United Nations General Assembly, he did promise them that he was going to give free and fair election. Personally, I think, for example, a Peter Obi winning election will be a massive advantage for Buhari. He'll be able to use that as a boasting card to say, I did it. It was during my time the election was reformed and people's vote we can't. So I see him, and that's one of the things I say people, we should amplify and push that more and sow the seed in his head that, look, this is the only legacy you have. So allow free and fair election. You see Buhari during the primaries of APC, he doesn't look like somebody who will interfere. Buhari is a very selfish person, unapologetic, and this is me saying it. It's not for saying it on her show. This is my own personal opinion. He's a very selfish person that he will not put himself out to use the state machinery to rig election for his party or anything like that. If he was the one running now, he can do all of those things, but he's not the one running. So he's going to, most likely, he's going to allow that free and fair election. They have already been sort of like seeing that ground where he's not interfering in what is happening. So that's one part where I think the votes will count. The other part also is INEC. The current INEC chairman is on his last term. He's on his second and last term. He also needs a legacy for him to go and have a career that is beyond INEC, have a career where in the world he will be somebody to be reckoned with, just like you had the one his predecessor. So because of all of this, you find out that there's more. And the Electoral Act also is very powerful, has put a lot of things in place. There's going to be transmission, electronic transmission of results. And there's going to be beavers, no incidence form. If your face is not captured, your hand is not captured, sorry, you cannot vote. And if the number of votes, the ballot paper are more than the people that were accredited, the votes will be cancelled. So that reduced that issue of ballot snatching, ballot stuffing and stuff like that. And so with the electronic transmission of results, if it has already gone, you can't go and start changing it at the collation center. So these are some of the things that give us that confidence to say that indeed the Nigerian votes will matter. And look, the only time that they will rig election, even before, is because people don't come out to vote. What we'll do is that we'll come out to vote, we'll sit out there, we will ensure that our votes are counted before we leave.
Awesome. So last question, okay? So this is one of the obedience that is that follows you. This is Oluyemi Urimadegun. Okay, thanks Freestar 46 for the last question. And I'm also going to include John Emmanuel's question in the mix of it because their questions are similar. John Emmanuel from YouTube. Also, vote buying is a big issue and it happens in every state of the federation. What is the plan of the PTLB campaign to neutralize this, especially in areas where the party is not too popular? And this also includes John Emmanuel's question, how he also talks about going into the villages, how the Obedient campaign is going to go into the villages and reach more people. So these are things like that. And then yes. So trying to prevent how the campaign wants to address vote buying and also how the campaign is planning to reach the inner workings of villages and places like that.
Oh, okay. So I'm not speaking for the party. Neither am I speaking for Peter Obi. I'm not his spokesperson. I'm not the party spokesperson. So there are three arms of the whole campaign. There's the Labour Party itself. There's the Obedient campaign itself, and then there's the Obedient movement. There are three. Even though they are all working together towards one result, there are three arms. So for me, I would look at it from the point of view of the Obedient movement. How are they going to prevent this? One of the things I have been saying for over the last, I think, 2-3 years is that, look, Nigerian citizens, we must now begin to use our, what's the word I normally call it? We had oh gosh, the word has just gone off my head. I don't know whether it's old age. The older I'm getting, the more we have our circle of influence. Yeah, that's what I'm looking. Those are the words I was looking. Our circle of influence. So you see right now, when government fails, who are the people who become stopgap for government, who are taking care of people? We pay people's school fees, we pay their hospital bills. When they're hungry, they come to us. When they need things, they're always sending us messages. But guess what? We never have political discussion with them. We leave them. Once in every 4 years, politicians will go and meet them, and then they will have a transaction, quid pro quo transaction, take money, vote for me. And when they vote for them, the politicians will destroy the economy. It affects those of us who are taking care of the masses. And then also, the masses now have more problems to bring. So it is time for us also, using that our circle of influence, so begin to talk to the people around us about governance and relationship between governance and their lives. And so every one of us, we must also talk to people. I'm going to talk to you and say, look, don't sell your vote. If you sell your vote and you come to me and tell me that your child is hungry, honestly, I'm going to send you to your House of Rep member that you sold your vote to, your governor that you sold your vote to, your president that you sold your vote to. Because we must stop enabling bad behavior. It has to be tough love. this tough love to let people know. So if it, and then in looking at it, most people don't understand when they are selling their vote. So every one of us, we have to leave our big sanctimonious throne and come down to the level of the ordinary person, sit down with them and talk to them about this vote for what it means, and also give an ultimatum. If you sell your vote, whatever they give you, use it for 4 years. Don't come and tell me that your child is sick, because I will send it to the person you send your photo. Because at the end of the day, we cannot continue to allow people to behave badly and destroy the nation, and then all of us are suffering at the end of the day. So these are some of the things that we have to do. We have to do awareness creation. We have to talk to people. We have to also use our card that we have. We play government. Like I always say to people, I say most times we like to play government, we like to play God. God deserves loyalty from us, right? God is a jealous God. He doesn't, for example, in Islam, the worst kind of sin that you can commit is to ascribe anything to God, whether partner or whatever. It's called shirk, to ascribe anything to God. And then these politicians, when they do something for you, they demand that you give them their votes. So why are the rest of the citizens doing things without demanding for anything, without saying, okay, these are the conversation that we will have? So people might say, oh, that's selfish, but that's the reality of life. Because what happens is that because we feel that we are the ones helping them from this benevolent point of view, we are their benefactors, we don't see them as our equal, that we will sit down and have a conversation with and say to them, look, don't sell that your vote. But the politicians, once in every 4 years, they see them as equal, and they have that their quid pro quo moments.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thing of importance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know you have to go. Thank you so much for coming. This is not going to be our last discussion, but thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, just say bye-bye to Aisha. And those of you who are watching afterwards, if you have any questions, you can put up. We can continue the discussions in the comments. Thank you so much, Aisha, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. All right, you guys. So thank you all so much for watching this special episode of the podcast series. Please just follow my page, Transform Nigeria Social Impact Consulting. I will have more influencers and people who move and shake our nation as citizens in their personal capacity to improve our situation in Nigeria. So please follow me. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to my channel. If you're on Facebook, follow Transform Nigeria, follow Social Impact Consulting. Just follow these channels so that you can be a part of making Nigeria a better place for us, our children, and generations unborn. Again, thank you so much, and let's change the world together. Bye-bye.